Here is an illustration of space-time. It's intuitive. It's logical. There's nothing seen here, nothing going on. Time is passing, measured in seconds, and at 8 or 9 seconds, a particle goes by. Space-time is simply a useful mental concept, a way to measure speed, as in kilometers per second, miles per hour. It's a mental concept. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It only exists in your mind. Now suppose a radio transmission, say from the Earth to Saturn, which happens to be at this moment on the opposite side of the sun. The radio transmission is bent as it passes by the mass of the sun. That's what Einstein proposed, but how about this? This is just as good, came right off the top of my head. What if radio waves and light are two forms of the same type of electromagnetic radiation? And what if passing close to the sun somehow electrically or magnetically alters its course slightly? Well, so what? What if it does? What if the path is bent slightly? It means that the radio transmission will take a smidget longer. So what? And how does that make Einstein a hero? I believe I just accidentally refuted him. Now suppose a radio transmission, say from the Earth to Saturn, which happens to be at this moment on the opposite side of the sun. The radio transmission is bent as it passes by the mass of the sun. That's what Einstein proposed, but how about this? What if radio waves and light are two forms of the same type of electromagnetic radiation? What if radio waves and light are two forms of the same type of electromagnetic radiation? And what if passing close to the sun somehow electrically or magnetically alters its course slightly? And greetings, boys and girls around the world. Let's have a chat. I'd like to give you an explanation of why I appear to be attacking Albert Einstein and Michio Kaku. I do so only to illustrate an example. And it is the example of the useful idiot. During the 50s and 60s, the United States was engaged in a Cold War against worldwide communism. Both opposing regimes had nuclear weapons, which couldn't be used because it would create too much destruction. Try to picture what I'm saying here. A weapon that can't be used. Suppose you're flying in a pressurized cabin of an aircraft and the bad guy is coming after you with a knife and you have a gun, but you can't use it because you fire that gun, the bullet, say it's a real powerful gun, it'll puncture the pressurized cabin and destroy the aircraft. If you use your gun to defend yourself, you're committing suicide. That's the way the Cold War was. And so in this situation where you can't use your gun and the enemy can't use a gun against you because in doing so he also will die, you use whatever alternative you can get your hands on. And if only thing you can get your hands on is like a pair of ladies' underwear, and you slap your opponent with the underwear, that's what you do, because you can't use your gun. If the only thing you can do is to pick up some perfume and spray your enemy in the face with the perfume, that's what you do, because you can't use your gun. So during the Cold War, both sides of this opposing ideology, communism versus capitalism, dictatorship versus democratic republic, used disinformation, trickery, deceit, subterfuge to confuse. It's called active measures. If you're going, even today, suppose we're going to invade Iraq, to soften up the enemy and to do as much damage as we can before we put our flesh and blood soldiers on the front line facing the bullets and bombs fired by the Iraqis, we do our best to interfere with their communication, to give them false ideas about where we're going to attack and when we're going to attack. We try to create confusion in their ranks by starting false rumors. We could even start a false rumor that there's an outbreak of a terrible disease in a certain place, and that somebody in authority has ordered the Iraqi soldiers to evacuate that place. And maybe they won't respond by evacuating, but at least there'll be some confusion that will help disorient them, help us to attack them with conventional weapons, so that when our tanks roll, our trucks roll, and our guns are raised to shoot, maybe they will be caught off guard. We use active measures. It is a part of warfare. We use psychological warfare. We use disinformation. So the communist empire, the evil empire, used heavily, focused on the use of disinformation and the creating of false opposition groups. They manufactured stories, printed books, leaked documents, forged documents, distributed disinformation, paid people to propagate the ideas, manufactured movements, and that is why we have the anti-war movement, the peace movement, the anti-nuclear movement, the environmental movement, the global warming movement, the feminist movement, you name it. All these things were manufactured by the communists to do us harm, to soften us up for military conquest. Michio Kaku, as a young man, Einstein, as a young man, became inadvertently, unfortunately, indoctrinated with this disinformation and became spreaders of it, either wittingly or knowingly or unwittingly. Maybe they were paid, maybe they were promoted, maybe they were told, if you work with us, we will get you a Nobel Peace Prize. If you work with us, we will promote your book, and you can make money just writing books. If you work with us and make us look good, we'll even write the books for you, and we'll arrange TV interviews, and we'll stage it in such a way as you always look good, because you always make us look good. You're doing our bidding, so we're going to use you as a front man. So Michio Kaku, regardless of what he really believes today, he got his start in the counterculture movement of the 60s. And this counterculture movement of the 60s was to some degree propagated by Albert Einstein, because when he was supposedly teaching physics and lecturing on physics, he was not. He was propagating the peace movement. And it's doubtful and it's questionable how much of this advanced theoretical physics he actually conceived. It is likely that he borrowed some ideas from other people. So that is why I appear to be attacking Einstein and Kaku, as I'm trying to crack open this facade to let you peek behind the scenes to see the puppet masters behind the scenes. Here is an illustration of space-time. It's intuitive. It's logical.